Let's see how we can use VS Code to view the history of our project. To do that, you have to install an extension called GitLens. So go to the extensions panel and search for GitLens. It's right here. This is a very popular extension. Look at the number of downloads. It's over 6 million times. So once you install this, you're going to see a new icon over here. That is GitLens. Now on the top, let's go to repositories. Here's our Venice repository, and we're currently on the master branch. Let's open the master branch. Here are the commits in this branch. For each commit, we can see the message, we can see the author, we can see the number of files that were added, modified, and deleted. Now, if we expand any of these commits, we can see all the files that were changed in that commit. If we click on any of these files, we can see a diff of the changes. So this line was removed and these two lines were added. Pretty helpful. Now, let me close the master branch. So over here, we can see all the branches we have. We'll look at branches in the next section. We can see the contributors. So here are all the people who have contributed to this repository. In this case, I'm listed twice because I've created some of these commits on another machine with a different email. So that is why I'm listed twice here. Now, we also have our tags. Currently, we have a single tag, version 1.0, that is referencing this commit. Now, let's look at some file history. So this file history panel works when we have a file open in the editor. So I'm going to open our table of content file. Now back to GitLens. In the file history panel, we can see all the commits that have touched this file. Once again, if we click on any of these commits, we can see the lines that were added or deleted. Now let's see how we can compare commits. So we click on this. We have to select two commits here. We can type a commit ID or a relative reference using head. I'm going to compare head with head_6. So these are all the files that have been changed across these two commits. If we click on any of these files, we can see the exact lines that were added or deleted. Now, let's look at search commits. So we can search by message, author, commit ID, files, or changes. So let's search by message. So after message, we type our keyword, let's say GUI. This is the only commit that has the word GUI in its message. Now, earlier in the course, I told you that all these GUI tools have some limitations. For example, here we cannot apply a second filter. We can only search by a single filter like message, author, and so on. If I have so many commits with a particular keyword in their message, and then I want to filter the range to a particular date range, I cannot do that here. I have to go back to the terminal. Another limitation we have here is the lack of bisect command. So we cannot use bisect to quickly find a bad commit. For that, again, we have to go back to the terminal. That is the reason why I'm personally not a fan of GUI tools. I prefer to do things mostly on the terminal. GUI tools are great for diffing, seeing exactly how the code is modified from one commit to another. Now, one last thing before we finish this lesson. Let me show you how to create and delete tags. So we have to bring up the command palette. On Mac, the shortcut is Shift, Command, and P. And on Windows, it's probably Shift, Control, and P. If this doesn't work on your machine, go to the View menu on the top and find the command palette. It's the first item. Unfortunately, it's not visible in my recording window right now. So let's bring up the command palette and type git tag. Now we can see all the commands related to tags. So we can create, delete, or push tags. We'll talk about pushing tags in the future. So let's create a tag. We give it a name, let's say version 1.2. We type a message. And now we have a new tag associated with the latest commit. So if you go to repositories and tags, here's our tag. Now, if you want to create a tag for an earlier commit, you have to find that commit first. So let's say we want to add a tag to this commit right here. We right click and select create tag.